Hey guys, so I wanted to do a quick video about my solar project that I've pretty much been working on for like the last 3 years. Just saving up for parts when I could, or selling stuff I didn't need and putting it towards piece by piece. And so I'm just going to show you each component in the system and how it all works. So this is just sort of the corner where everything is. My batteries, the charge controller. Around the corner there you'll see the inverter and the fuse panel and all that stuff. So check it out and let me know what you think. So it's a pretty nice day outside. These are the solar panels right here. Each one is 100 watts. So 200 watts total. And there's the wire that runs into the house. The stand is just something you can get off of Amazon. It's actually designed for just one panel, but to get two of them together with one stand, I actually got some brackets and just sort of bolt strap them together, and it works. It's pretty stable. These spikes are just for the birds because they like to and will perch on the top there and do their business, and that's not a good thing. You can imagine that would get messy. So I think each panel can do 5.29 amps max at like 18.9 volts. I have them connected in series, so it's double the voltage, so like around 40 volts and same amperage. But it works out. Does a good job. So I'll start with the batteries. This one in front here is an older one, hence the word old. I had it for about a year and it wasn't holding a charge the way it should anymore, and Renogy was nice enough to warranty it for me. So it's charged but not hooked to anything. That's just sort of a backup in case I ran out of power or something in an emergency. This is the actual battery that's in service and hooked up. It's a 100 amp hour AGM 12-volt battery. Same specs as this one. So on the positive terminal of the battery is a terminal block fuse. Instead of needing a jumper and an inline fuse, this just basically attaches directly to the battery. It's safer and more convenient too. So about 150 amps I think is the rating on that. It's a Blue Seas marine fuse, and in the negative terminal has a little jumper which goes to the shunt, which I'll show later. Yeah, so there's basically three outputs. One is to the battery monitor there. This runs to all my 12-volt ham radio gear, my phone chargers, USB and all that, and this one goes to my 120-volt AC inverter, which is kind of wall power like that. And this is the charger, basically the solar charge controller, and that goes right into the battery, although it is fused with like a 25 amp fuse. So this is my charge controller. It's also by Renogy. This is where the solar panels come in and the power gets converted into 12 volt for the system. It's a 20 amp MPPT charge controller, and looks like I'm getting a little over 7 amps, which is a good thing. So this right here is just a temperature sensor which goes on the side of the battery there, and this is where the panels come in. This is the output to the battery, and this runs to a little USB, not USB, a Bluetooth adapter, so that you can check how much power you're getting in from your phone wirelessly. So this part right here is called a current shunt. It basically measures the voltage and the current very accurately of what's coming out of the battery and what's going into the battery, so that you have an accurate representation of the state of charge of the battery. With lead acid batteries, a common thing is people don't know how much energy they're taking out. they estimate by the voltage, and that can be wrong, and then they can discharge the battery too much, which can reduce its lifespan pretty drastically. This little jumper wire comes from the negative battery terminal and goes into the shunt, so everything runs through there so it can measure. The red wire is just the power supply to power up the control unit, which is connected here, which I'll show you in a second. And then this wire goes to the inverter, and this goes to my radio gear and phone chargers and all that stuff. It runs up over there and all zip tied neatly and tidy, hopefully. So the battery cables run along here and into the fuse panel here in the corner. It's a tight squeeze, so hopefully you can see it, but it's a marine style fuse box made by a company called Blue Seas, and all my radio gear is connected up here, as well as my phone chargers and USB stuff. The negative feed comes up top and the positive on the bottom. I had to actually chop the corner off the cover because the battery cable was so big it wouldn't close. So these connectors have built-in adhesive and heat shrink, so it seals it up and gives it some strain relief, and makes it a really reliable connection. And then the wires run through the back, all cleaned up with some zip ties, and run to their respective stuff. So the fuse panel runs into the battery through this 4-gauge cable here. This 8-gauge dedicated run goes to my power inverter, and that basically is this big honking blue thing here. This basically gives you grid power. You'll recognize that familiar connector. Gives you grid power off of 12 volt DC. This one is made by Victron Energy. It's a really good brand, very affordable. It can do 400 watts continuous, 900 watts peak, and it works really well. So that's probably enough to run small appliances, run your computer, your laptop. I did run my small fridge off of it as a test, and it handled it no problem. But I don't really have enough solar panels or battery capacity to do that very long. So what is all this stuff connected to? What's the whole point of this? Well, it basically runs most of the gear I have on my desk. Obviously all my ham radios. That one, that one, that one. Runs my laptop. Some of those wires running back here to a USB sort of powered hub, and that way it can charge my iPhone, my watch, something that uses micro USB. It also has a USB-C output, so that I can run my laptop 100% off of solar. Sorry about all the mess on my desk, it's horrible. But it also runs my little Sirius XM radio. Now this is the control unit for the battery monitor I was telling you about, that big current shunt. And you can monitor all kinds of different bits of information about the battery system. How many watts is going in or coming out. Looks like I have another 2.7 amp hours to put into the battery. That's the exact percentage of how much capacity is remaining, and all kinds of other useful bits of information. And then the laptop actually is running monitoring software as well, so you get the same information, but you can use your phone or computer via Bluetooth and see all the same stuff. So right now looks like we're in the absorption phase of the charge. Looks like about 2 amps is going into the battery. I have to put that much more to be 100%, so we're getting there. Yeah, so that's what I have so far. It's a work in progress. I'm sure I'll tweak things, upgrade if I can, mess around, experiment. I've learned a lot. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, that's it. But let's not forget, a key part of this setup has been the zip ties. Zip ties. Black zip ties. Reddish, pinkish zip ties. Big honkin' strap zip ties. The MVP of this setup, zip ties.